Hello and welcome to another episode of Weather or Not. On this week's show, we take a trip from the Arctic to underneath the surface of the Earth. Tom reports on hazardous weather monitoring for Beaver Stadium. Also, Tyler will be by with your Christmas forecast. This plus more Weather or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to Weather or Not. I'm your host, Christy Shields.
And I'm your forecaster, Tyler Jankowski.
Tyler, we saw a lot of snow last weekend, and this weekend a lot of people will be traveling between finals, graduation, and the holidays. Could we see more snow this weekend?
You know, that's a good question, a question on a lot of people's minds, but actually the answer is not that exciting. We have a big warm-up in store for this weekend. I'll let you know if we have any snow chances, though, in the forecast after the warm-up heading into Christmas.
All right, he'll be back later with his full forecast, but for now it's time for Nature in the News.
We see lots of mesocyclones here in the lower 48. However, cyclones were thought to be scarce in the Arctic. Scientists have now discovered that there is about 40% more than they had thought. Data was gathered from 2000 until 2010, where 1,900 cyclones were reported, which was more than scientists thought. This research will be useful for Alaska, Canada, and Russia. This will also help climatologists see a clearer picture of potential climate change in the future. It took a lot of research to be able to detect these storms because over the Arctic they tend to be short-lived. The scientists plan to continue this analysis of storms for decades so they can use the data to determine if storms are on increase or decrease in Arctic regions. Through this research, they could conclude that a large storm that occurred in August 2012 played a role in the decline of sea ice that year.
Speaking of ice, some parts of Antarctica are sliding sideways. West Antarctica has been losing ice, and its mushier substance is being pushed around by the harder surface of East Antarctica. This discovery comes from GPS measurements that recorded West Antarctica is being pushed sideways by about 1/2 inch per year. Terry Wilson, a professor at Ohio State University, has been studying ice motion since the 1990s. This finding will help understand crustal motions and ice loss. This study was done by PolNet, which is an international collaboration that plants GPS and seismic sensors on the West Antarctic ice sheet. Penn State is a part of this research as partners in PolNet. This unique ice properties have not been reported anywhere else on the globe, and Antarctica is showing extreme differences from anywhere else.
Those ice stories are chilling, but this next one is hot. Scientists have been measuring seismic waves under Yellowstone National Park to be able to map the magma that lies beneath. According to scientist Jamie Farrell of the University of Utah, there is a basin 55 miles long under Yellowstone, which is full of magma, and it is 2.5 times larger than ever before. This means that when Yellowstone erupts, it could potentially have a force 2,000 times greater than Mount St. Helens. When it does erupt, it could be the biggest volcano eruption for the past 2.1 million years. When the volcanic ash is put into the atmosphere, it could potentially circle the globe and affect many countries. The scientists are unsure of when the eruption will occur, but they are confident they have enough instruments collecting data that they would have time to warn the public if magma was moving to the surface.
Not only has it been warm under the surface of Yellowstone, but temperatures across the globe have also been warm. November of this year, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, was the warmest November since the record-keeping began in 1880. The combined temperature of land and ocean surface temperatures was 56.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This was the warmest, but also the 37th consecutive November for global temperatures to be higher than average. Europe and Asia were the continents that saw the heat the most. The only part of the world that didn't see above average temperatures was in North America. Here in State College, we followed that trend in North America of being below average for November. Overall, in the rest of the world, saw 2.57 degree Fahrenheit above the average on land. The Northern Hemisphere also saw its largest snow cover since 2002, where we were about 710,000 square miles over the average of 6.8 million square miles. Tyler, is there snow in the forecast for graduation on Saturday and Christmas next week?
Thanks, Christy. The forecast looks much like spring over the next couple of days. On Friday, a cold front is to our north. We'll spread clouds and a couple of showers across the area. And then on Saturday, it really doesn't get any better. A stationary front is hung up over the region. There is some more steady rain, though, working up from the Ohio River Valley. And on Sunday, it all comes together as a large storm system. Heavy rain in here on Sunday. Sunday is not only the wettest day of the next three, it is the warmest of the next three. So let's break down the forecast in detail. On Friday, a couple of showers with a high of 46 degrees. On Friday night, the showers continue, a low of 35. Saturday, we really begin to moderate, a high of 50 degrees for graduation here on Saturday. The rain becomes more steady as the day goes on and as we head into Saturday night. Look at the low on Saturday night, 41 degrees. This is warmer than our average high for this time of year. For the day on Sunday, heavy rain throughout the entire day and very warm with a high near 60 degrees.
Penn State football Saturdays are a well-kept and honored tradition in Happy Valley. Waking up for breakfast at the Waffle Shop, going to the intramural field to tailgate, and then going to Beaver Stadium dressed in your blue and white to watch the Nittany Lions take the field creates the perfect recipe for a fall Saturday in Happy Valley. Penn State prepares for these Saturdays days, weeks, and months in advance of the pigskin actually touching down on the field. However, when dangerous weather threatens the stadium, these preparations take a different turn. This week, Weather or Not heads to AccuWeather to interview Mr. Brian Weimer, who is the official Penn State weather monitorer for AccuWeather for the football games, and asks him exactly about his job. Brian Weimer is a 1981 graduate of Penn State University who has been working at AccuWeather since his graduation. He's now going to tell us a bit about his morning routine as weather monitor for Beaver Stadium.
I usually arrive about 2.5 to 3 hours before kickoff in the press box, and occasionally, or many times, I'll look at the weather ahead of time at home, especially if there's going to be some weather of consequence, some rain or thunderstorms or snow. But then set up there, I have a laptop that can access a lot of the same information I can from the office. And so just look at the current conditions and the computer models, and actually do a lot of the same things I do if I'm doing my regular forecasting shift here in the office, because I'm typically doing that kind of monitoring the current weather for my normal forecasting schedule.
Now, a meteorologist has a slew of tools that he can use to monitor the weather in the current time as well as in the future. Now let's ask Brian what he uses as the official Beaver Stadium weather monitor to ensure that the stadium is not adversely affected by hazardous weather.
Well, I'm looking at the current METAR obs from across the state and the region, looking at radar, if there's any precipitation, and lightning strikes, if there's any of that going on, or the potential for that as the day goes on, looking at satellite information, and if wind is a concern, I can look at the upper air wind reports and the short-term computer models to see how things may develop as we go through the day.
Now, if you've been at a Penn State football game in the 2012 or 2013 season, you've known that we've seen snowy games, icy games, rainy games, windy games, incredibly hot and incredibly cold football games. So let's ask Brian if he considered any of these football games to have evidence of hazardous weather interaction.
Well, the good thing is during the 2 years I've done this, the weather has been mostly good. I mean, there's been some rain and some snow showers, but if there is a concern, then I let the people in charge in the operations booth know, or they may come by and get like a little quick briefing beforehand as far as what the concerns might be as we go through the day. But if anything would pop up as far as strong thunderstorms or lightning, I would notify them, and then it's kind of up to them to make the decisions if they have to take any kind of action. It's my responsibility to give them the best weather information I can. And also, if I want a second opinion, I can talk to the folks here at the office that are also watching weather for their normal job and for our customers, but just to get a second opinion, because sometimes a second or third opinion is better than any one person, even if they're a real good forecaster.
Brian's role as a weather monitor is slowly becoming commonplace for other stadiums in the United States. The role of monitoring the weather for the protection of life and property, however, usually falls upon the mission statement of the National Weather Service. However, Penn State's strong relationship with AccuWeather allows the university to utilize the company's passion and excellence at forecasting the weather for the protection of the public. However, when dangerous weather does threaten Beaver Stadium and the university during football Saturdays, AccuWeather often communicates with the National Weather Service to come together to create a perfect forecast for the hazardous weather. This relationship is a perfect example of federal and private partnerships in the weather sector for the protection of the public. Now let's turn our gaze back to Weather or Not Studios to take a look at this week's extended forecast.
All right, let's take one last look at the forecast. Here it is on Friday. We'll have mostly cloudy skies, and there will be a couple of showers in the area, a high of 46 degrees. On Saturday, we continue to moderate 50 degrees. For graduation on Saturday, there will be some light rain in the area. As the day progresses, there will be more steady rain working into the region. And then for the day on Sunday, some heavy rain, a high near or above 60 degrees. It's really hard to pin down just how much warmth will be in here, but no doubt it will be very much above average. All right, here's the extended outlook. It includes the all-important holiday forecast on Wednesday, but first on Monday, we do drop off after the cold front moves through on Sunday. We do get back to seasonable levels with sunny skies on Tuesday, Christmas Eve. For Christmas Day on Wednesday, it does look good, mostly sunny skies. However, I do not see any snow in the forecast, so not a white Christmas, unfortunately, this year. And then for the end of next week, mostly cloudy and seasonable.
Tyler, it's sad to see that Santa's going to have a hard time next week trying to get around without any snow on the ground.
Yeah, we were so lucky, at least for a snow lover, lucky to have a decent snowpack at this point in December, this point in the winter season. But as I said, this weekend really looks like the torch turns on. We're going to have temperatures very much above average this weekend, in some cases 20 or more degrees above average. So unfortunately, it does look like our snowpack is going to melt. There may be some snow piles left, gray, dirty snow piles, but the answer to the question, will there be a white Christmas, is likely no for central Pennsylvania. So not very exciting.
That is some sad news, but we did see that snow last weekend, which brings us to our Weather Whiz quiz, which states on Saturday, December 14th, 2013, about how much snowfall did State College see? A, 10 inches, B, 8 inches, C, 6 inches, or D, 4 inches? And the answer is C, 6 inches.
Yeah, that's right, Christy. The official measurement at Walker Building was 6 inches, but it's important to note that that measurement was taken at 7 a.m. in the morning, and that was several hours after the storm had ended, and we actually had some freezing drizzle at the end of the storm, so there was definitely some compression that went on before the measurement was taken. So it wouldn't surprise me if we actually got a little bit more than an inch more than 6 inches.
Well, that about wraps up our show today. Again, I'm your host, Christy Shields.
And I'm your forecaster, Tyler Jankowski.
Have a happy holidays, and make sure you stay tuned for the next couple weeks for some special shows.
That's right. We'll have a new show each and every week on Whether or Not. We're busy working on all the logistics now, and you'll definitely want to tune in for the fresh content over the winter season.
Merry Christmas.